my intention in sharing what I'm about to share is just to do that, just to put it out there, to consider it maybe the beginning of a conversation, to see whether it's inspiring or interesting, if there are further conversations we want to pursue together. And it might be a good idea to save questions unless I'm completely confusing you. Maybe taking them at the end would do better. But I offer this in gratitude to the administration for the research that they've supported my doing over the last 3 years on learning in the brain. I have along the edges here a lot of the materials, and I'm happy to share anything. It's just sort of there to stimulate the appetite. But this term mindfulness in education seems to me a little bit fraught. So I want to sort of start by defining terms. A lot of people sort of, it connotes for them some sort of prescription for perfect peace, and as though we're going to sort of ohm out. And wow, that would be nice, but that's not exactly what I would think of. It's become a little bit of a word you're seeing a lot in the press. And you know when it hits the mindfulness series, I mean the dummy series, that there is a gig going on. So I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign. But certainly I've already seen some schools picking it up, eager to have more classroom order. There can be a very happy impact that a classroom has a better sense of integration. But if we're looking for fascist order, and I don't think any of us are, this is not the place. There is, however, understandable confusion, and especially on a Friday, I can imagine this might be landing about like this. Oh my God, what is she making us think about? And is this just Buddhism? Certainly Buddhists do engage in mindful practice and contemplative tradition, but this is a strictly secular practice that I'm bringing and talking about here. And I'm quoting John Kabat-Zinn, who many of you probably know. He's a professor up at Harvard, and I love what he says about this, that consciousness, that is the nature of the mind, that shouldn't be sequestered into Buddhism. It's too important. It's like the laws of gravity, and so it's with that intention that I want to explore this. And simply put, mindfulness is basically, if there's some stimulus, we have a reaction, right? Somebody honks the horn, you go, what? I do. And yet, mindfulness is something that just creates a little bit of a pause, a break, between something happening and our response to it, so that we can make choices about how we respond. And it is a choice that can come with training. So, we've been in this situation, right? Something's going on the road. And, this might be a characteristic, response. That might be a reflexive response. Does anybody recognize this guy? Who is it? Yeah,
Sully.
That's Sully. Does anybody remember what he said when they crashed into the Hudson? He didn't even say like, Mayday, Mayday, anything like that. No, he says, we're going to be in the Hudson. So he's a role model of sorts. Anyway, mindfulness can be defined, and you don't have to write any of this down. All of these slides will be available on the faculty server. So this is, I think, a fair definition. It's just a mental faculty of purposefully bringing open awareness. That means whatever comes, it comes, to any experience in the moment. So that grinding sense of, I can't believe we're in the dark on a Friday, well, it won't be forever. Nothing lasts forever. So here we are. Fact is that mindfulness creates space, and that's my intention. In pursuing it, it's my intention in sharing it, and I'm wondering whether it may be of benefit not just to us as teachers, but to us as individuals and to us as a body of faculty, allowing us to replace impulsive reactions with thoughtful responses. And those of you who have known me for 13 years, you know I offer this in all humility. It's not as though I am a walking Buddha. I embody the need for this. So it's in that spirit I offer it. Also, I can imagine you're thinking, oh great, she's giving us another pedagogical tool. I know that we do a lot as teachers, and we're pros. We've been at this for years. We have good intentions. We've got great things to offer. And I have a lot of sympathy for that perspective. It is a predictable response that you might think, oh great, she wants us to meditate. Shoot me now. On the other hand, as teachers, we are signed up this year to explore habits of mind. How might we bring those into fruition somewhere in our classrooms, on the playing fields here and there? And to my mind, all 16 of these rotate around this one, which is just the ability to think about thinking, to notice and be aware of your thinking. Everything stems out from there. So to the extent that we are pledged as a faculty to explore these, I want to offer up mindfulness as the how-to. Because to say, I want you to stop being impulsive, is sort of like saying to our students, I want you to speak French. Who's teaching? Who's teaching how to manage impulsivity? This is a skill. And so mindfulness is the how-to, linked with habits of mind. And there is one clarification I'd like to offer, which is that sometimes people characterize habits of mind as being sort of the cognitive academic portion, and these mindfulness as sort of the social, emotional learning. I submit that from what I've learned from the teachers I've been studying with, that's a false dichotomy. That in fact, our minds are working only when they are fully integrated. And so to the extent that we're open, available for learning, and capable of processing as students, as learners, that's because we have the social and emotional foundation that is in sync. So it's the condition for learning. I don't know if that makes it any different. But the fact is that this is our task. It is our task to take a lot of live wires and make sure they're grounded. And at one of the conferences I went to, one of the teachers shot up her hand and she says, oh my God, are you kidding me? So now you're telling me we have to teach to the children's brains? And this, very, very refined neuroscientist answers, excuse me, madam, to what part of the child's anatomy have you previously been teaching? So, this is our job. This is what we do. And in fact, we are literally, we are teachers. We're neuroplasticity sculptors. To me, the best news I've heard since I turned 50 is that neuroplasticity we never outgrow. So we can always change. We can always change our minds. And when we change our minds, we change our lives. So this will be a quick review because our guest last Friday ran through a lot of this. But this is a very helpful simplification of neuroanatomy. And it helps to think about the triune brain in three different sections. The reptilian brain, which is the oldest part of our brain. Obviously, we evolved as a species and became mammals, and we evolved this core part of our brain. That's where most of the teenagers live. That is their address. We keep saying, would you please join us up here in your neocortex? And they are dwelling deep in their amygdala, which is why they take everything personally, which is difficult if you insist on meeting them here. But we can actually harness that in effective ways, encouraging them to take certain things personally, like imagining themselves to be plebeians or patricians in Rome, for example. I'll say more about that. But this is the basic anatomy. The thing is that because the reptilian brain, and this is our fight or flight, right? This is the part of our brain that basically kept us safe from saber-toothed tigers. So it's the reason why when my son surprises me in the kitchen, I still will go, ah, because I haven't had time to think, you're my kid, this is my kitchen, you're not that saber-toothed tiger. But the fact is my brain has already fired, and that's what's gotten us here so far. So we get to say thank you reptilian brain for getting us thus far, but we can begin to build different habits. So while this has a super highway, an immediate access to our cortex, so it makes our decisions for us basically. Similarly, the midbrain, our emotions, also have a much quicker route to to our decisions than the reverse. So they enjoy this sort of neural superhighway. They are express routes of reactivity. And so fear and emotions will then drive behavior. That can be a problem for us all. And the neocortex, on the other hand, has all kinds of sophisticated networking. We can be rational. We can learn new things. We can be creative. The problem is there is no direct route back from here to the amygdala or from here back to the reptilian brain. It's just too new. And the good news is we can create it. And that's what mindfulness does. Because otherwise what you have is literally a neurojungle. And you know what it looks like?
Nobody likes you. No one likes you.
Big jazz, like groupie.
Finish on my way.
Connor's belt vest.
Listen to that. Well, I've given up.
We're that bad, they gotta bring a TV show about us?
I had a parent-teacher conference. The teachers were talking bad about me.
The principal said that if the teacher sends her to the office one more time, she have to change the school.
I'm tired of it. Listen.
Just a problem, kid.
Well, I really don't feel like my parents can understand me.
No, that's not. Yes, Mr. Evans.
I am here from Mindful Schools. We go into classrooms and teach something called mindfulness.
I was like, get out of here. I don't know about the class.
People will like make fart noises and stuff.
Can I have everybody's eyes up here?
Worried and stupid.
Keep your attention with me.
That makes stuff entertaining.
You will not be entertained 24 hours a day of your whole life.
Monica, go outside. I know you don't like expectations.
I do, but I don't like yours.
For him, that he has a chance and opportunity to be somebody here.
I want to prove to them that I'm changing my life.
Repeat silently in your mind, I wish for myself to be happy.
That's like something in your backpack, you know? It's always there. You can just pull it out and use it.
We work in a different school. It's not quite that outlandish. But in terms of the reactivity, we don't even have to bring the kids into it. We know that we have these same reactions and responses, and we also have the same opportunities. So that's where mindfulness comes in. Practice actually creates pathways, neural pathways. And the good news is that each time a synapse fires, it wires. So talk about habits of mind, it's literally rewiring the brain. And while some people say, oh, well, I feel calm so long as I'm doing X, Y, or Z, and so it seems like that's just a state, done repeatedly, states become traits. So to my mind, the practice belongs here in education because it increases attention span. That helps people in their academic achievement. It improves impulse control. Sure, that helps with classroom management. And gives us a little more teaching time, but it also means that the children who are having meltdowns are actually learning how to avoid some of those problems. It reduces stress, making everybody a little bit happier, and it builds empathy, which supports a learning community, which is ultimately what we are. Getting started? Well, in terms of the young minds, I want to just give one quick update. I think that she went over this a little bit, but the myelin sheathing is a real thing. You know, along the neural pathways are these things that grow as sort of jelly rolls, except they have more of the consistency of Jell-O. So they're not set yet in the kids. Now, for those of you my age and older, this is the stuff that's also beginning to fall apart and go back to the little, less gelatinous, a little bit more fluid stuff. It's why we forget things, right? And again, the good news is that having some awareness of the myelin sheathing actually allows you to engineer your neural pathways. So in terms of why the kids take things so personally and they can be so reactive, a lot of it is because their wires, it's basically like having a bare wire. It hasn't yet been insulated. And when I shared this, when I taught my little allied art class in the spring, and I shared it with the students in that class, they found this one of the most empowering things. It gave them a lot of patience with themselves and some compassion for themselves, helped them understand themselves and the way their brain works, and why it is that, you know, somebody turning a little bit like this feels catastrophic, right? We know that. We see it all the time. We're middle school teachers. But this is what's going on. This is how, what is under construction, literally. The thing is that the brain is only part of the mind. And to teach mindfulness is an embodied practice. So, the spine, of course, is the superconductor. Every message in our body, it travels up and down that corridor. That is the beginning of the brain. Although there are neurotransmitters also in the heart and in the gut, they're found in surprising places, but there's a reason that our poetry and our song lyrics resonate with that kind of language. It's true. We really do feel in our hearts. We really do have that kind of sensory message. So I wonder, I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable. Could I ask you to turn on the lights just for a moment, please, though? Because to talk about mindfulness feels a little disingenuous to me. It is a practice. So I wonder if there are people, I just invite you to kind of do it along with me if you'd like to or not. You can stay seated, you can stand. But I'm just kind of running through some of what I do with the kids and what we could do with some of our kids. Simply moving blood and lymph through the system changes the brain in the moment. So I don't know, even if you're in the hospital, just rotating your ankles, trying to do the alphabet with your ankles does amazing things. Not only does it generate the circulation of the blood, which, you know, remember, we have a heart for that, but we have no way to circulate lymph unless we contract muscles. So in terms of supporting the immune system, you got a lot of snotty kids today. Did you notice? Coughs and snarks and stuff. So, you know, I spent some time with my 9th graders just getting them to pump lymph. So that's an easy way to start. And just in terms of loosening up your neck, you know, there are lots of different ways of doing it that can be a little more high impact, but just simply making a slow circle with your chin here is an absolutely safe way of getting going. The breathing, though, is a wonderful way of working in the classroom. And with young kids, you know, they love animals. There are a variety. I'll ask the kids which they want to do. You want a Spider-Man, a crocodile, or a butterfly today? So you guys can do this, right? A Spider-Man, you imagine? Kids love it. It's an energizing one. You guys can do it. But it energizes you. It'll wake up your brains a little bit, take some oxygen in. And crocodile breathing is good when you have a little less space, if you're in a more cramped space. And breathing like a butterfly slows everything down. And it's nice to combine them. And it just helps them settle. And you've just fired your neurons a little bit. Spinal cord tune-up, we'll show you another time since none of you are on your feet. Sounding the bell, ringing a gong, come on. Some of you can get up on your feet. It's not that hard. If you just use your body as a